And so if you did a penetration test yesterday and 50 new vulnerabilities come out today, some of them will apply to you. And last time I checked, the hackers are hacking every single day. You do a once a year penetration test, and let's just say you do fix what is found, then the next day is obsolete. So doing a penetration test is not the most efficient way to solve your problem.
Is it time to reconsider commonly held cybersecurity strategies? Our guest today is Corey White, the co-founder and CEO of Cyvatar, which provides cybersecurity as a service for its customers. With over 2 decades of experience in the cybersecurity industry, Corey shares his thoughts on how a typical detection and response strategy and the notion of a single penetration test are not adequate solutions at all to constant threats in the cybersecurity world. Tune in to hear his long-term solution, as well as his ideas on protecting SMBs in the remote era. Looking for more key insights from IT leaders, our sponsor Salesforce platform partnered with Pulse Research to uncover the latest data security trends and best practices, find new tactics to defend against phishing, ransomware, and DDoS attacks, and more. Download the full report at salesforce.com/securitytrends. Welcome everyone to another episode of IT Visionaries, and today we have a special guest. He is the founder and chief experience officer of a company called Cyvatar. Corey White, welcome to the show.
Albert, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Listen, we're going to dive into your experience, the platform, the company, all that good stuff. But before we do that, it's time for the lightning round. The lightning round is brought to us by Salesforce Platform, the #1 cloud platform for digital transformation of every experience. Corey, this is where we ask you some fun questions so our audience can get to know you a little better. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, man. What do you like doing outside of work?
Oh, that's hard. I work too much, but when I'm not working, it sounds horrible. It's not even cool or sexy. I like to meditate. I like to meditate and just chill, hang out with my wife and kids, and I like to drink. So
all right,
simple.
listen, I've tried meditating. I find it very challenging. What is a tip you would give to someone who needs to learn how to meditate, and how do they clear their mind? How do they truly do it?
I still haven't mastered clearing my mind. I have my brain operates at a high beta all the time. You see that with a lot of founders. I have to do guided meditations. So the whole turning your brain off and focusing on breathing thing, I haven't mastered yet either. So I'm working on it. I got some other techniques I'm gonna do, but I do guided meditations. And one of my favorite ones is the 6-phase meditation. You can Google it, but it's a guided one, 20 minutes, you're done. You've created your life, your day.
I guess how long does it take to get better at that? Because you mentioned before that whole clearing your mind thing is very difficult to do. Guided meditation, how quickly will you see results from that?
Immediately. So I meditate pretty much every single morning. And the thing is that if you want to, I can go deeper into manifesting, but when I look at my day, I look at my calendar, and then I meditate on the outcomes of my meetings that are on my calendar, then I've already sent out to the universe what I want those outcomes to be. As opposed to just randomly going into the day, I've actually set an intention for the day. And so that's, I think, absolutely critical in building a successful life, not even job, just life. Set intentions for what you want to actually happen.
Okay, so you sound like very typical to like some of the other founders who've had on the show, very focused, very driven. You mentioned before you do the meditation helps you in work, in life. I'm curious, were you always like this? What were you like when you were a kid?
The reason why I sound like other founders, I think that being a founder, being an entrepreneur, just a driven individual, life knocks you down, okay? And that's some of the best things that can happen to you. I call it getting punched in the mouth, right? And everybody, like you say, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth,
That's
right?
right.
And that's so true. And I've had my share of being punched in the mouth, knocked back, knocked down. But here's the beauty of it. The beauty is when you get back up. Okay, because then you've overcome that. Next time that the person tries to punch you, you're gonna sidestep it. You're gonna dodge it, and so you're ready until you get that next punch. The next bigger person punches you, then you get knocked down. You're like, all right, damn. So then you gotta get back up. And so life is about a process of going through that. And what I've learned in my 50 years of being in existence here on Earth is that at the end of the day, we came into this world thinking, I'm gonna have a cake life. It's gonna be easy. I'm gonna, go and get my degree and I'll get a great job. And you live this glamorous life that you see on TV. But I believe that our souls are here to go through the hard things so you can get to the other side and progress and get better and improve yourself as you go through this journey, not have an easy cake life.
Well, listen, the history is written by the victors, right? The people that are able to overcome and persevere. I got to ask you questions. I caught a little nugget in your answer just a moment ago. I want to make sure I clarify this. Did you just say you're 50 years old?
I'm 50 in July. Yes.
You are the youngest looking 50-year-old man on the face of the earth. If anyone wants to know the power of meditation, what it can do for you, apparently it can help you look young, man. My man, you are like the youngest, got to be the healthiest looking 50-year-old I've ever met.
Well, it goes back to being punched in the mouth. In my 20s, I had every kind of autoimmune disease you could imagine.
Wow.
I was bad. I was in bad shape, right? And so I had to figure out how to live life. That's why I meditate, because I was stressed about every little simple thing. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't taking care of myself. Wasn't working out. Wasn't doing any of those things. So the reason why I look the way I look is because I got punched in the mouth so bad that I had to redo everything. And now I'm a biohacker and I do a lot of healthy things. I don't believe in absolutes, and I think a lot of people have a hard time. Well, I'm never gonna do this. Like people say, like I say, I don't drink soft drinks, but I may have like one or two, maybe five a year, but I'm not drinking like six a day, right?
Yeah.
So I don't believe in absolutes of saying I'm never going to do something, but I just limit. Everything's in real extreme moderation, and you control what you do. One last thing I'll leave you with, there's some new science out there that actually is old science, goes back to the caveman days, and that's where you hear people talk about intermediate fasting. If you eat 25% less, you could live 25% longer. Okay, because everything you put in, all that junk, your body has a process, and that crap makes you look old. Okay, so yeah, if you just do those things, they probably can help you.
Well, listen, we're excited to have you here on the show. And I've already found a side hustle for you because you could definitely be like a longevity coach or something, man. Like you are killing it here. But we are excited to have you, Corey, today to talk about your company, Cyvatar, and your experience in the cybersecurity space. But before we get going, for our audience who may not be familiar with Cyvatar, tell us what it is and what does the company specialize in, and what do you guys, what do you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. Albert, I gotta tie back to what we talked about previously because that's what drives what we do as a company. So, one of my principles in life is I try my best to be 100% the same person, whether it be work or home, just in life. You see everybody, a lot of people they'll go and they're like, oh, this is work Corey, or this is home Corey, or whatever. That's hard because me as a Black founder, going into work and then fitting into the other constructs that are there, I'm not going to fit in. And so I just got to go in and be me and use that as my strength. And so how that ties into business. Okay. My key point in life is I want to make sure that I'm making it better, not worse. So tie it into Cyvatar. And there are many cybersecurity companies that probably will disagree at a certain level, but we as a cybersecurity industry, after being in the cybersecurity industry for 27 years, we're not trying to stop cyber attacks. Okay. And so, let that marinate. Like, why would we not try to stop cyber attacks? And the obvious answer is when you think about how much money you can make off of incidents or compromise, companies, there's a lot of upside there. I mean, there's one time when I think, WannaCry hit. I mean, my division of the company I was working for at the time, we did like 15 million when WannaCry hit. Right. And in like a quarter, which was really amazing. But it was off of what we call the insecurity of security. Companies get hacked and then all the purse strings open up and they spend more money. But if you stop the hack, then the hacks and get these companies secure, then, all that money stops flowing. Right. And so I'll give you an example that happens in cybersecurity. It's this phrase that you'll see out there if you Google around called detect and respond. And what that means is, let's use this in an analogy for your house. So, Everett, you don't, hopefully not, use a detect and respond strategy for your home. What that means is, you're not making sure your front doors and windows are closed and locked all the time. You have like a Ring camera that's focused on your door, and every time somebody walks into your house, it detects it and sends you an alert. Okay? And then what happens in cybersecurity when we do a lot of alerting is called alert fatigue. And so
Yeah,
you
false
Google these.
positives.
Yeah, exactly. So you Google alert fatigue, and the companies say we solve alert fatigue. Well, think about it. What if you just closed and locked your door? You wouldn't get that many alerts. Okay. So let me translate that in cybersecurity. If you don't want to get hacked, don't have any critical or high risk vulnerabilities. Use multi factor authentication on everything and block the execution of malware, ransomware on your endpoints. That's the equivalent of closing and locking your door. And so I figured that out over my career is that we've made it too hard to actually secure ourselves, and we pivoted to a detection and a response type of strategy instead of just fixing it. And the biggest attack surface out there is the small to medium sized businesses. I literally left RSA, a huge cybersecurity conference last week in San Francisco, and they had 4,000 vendors there, all chasing after the Fortune 1000. Why would I go after those 1,000 when the SMB market is just wide open? There's almost no competition, and it's the biggest attack, surface for the hackers. They're like, oh, let's go after these SMBs because they have almost no security. So that's why we built Cyvatar. Cyvatar is a subscription-based, effortless cybersecurity solution where we bring in enterprise-grade cybersecurity, solutions and implement them all for one fixed price. So we don't sell products or services. We only sell solutions that are tied to an outcome of you being secure within 90 days.
Why do you think company is it an education thing? Is it a time and effort thing? Is it mismatched financial incentive thing? Like, why is it that more SMBs, why don't they focus more on keeping their network secure, their infrastructure secure, their data secure? Because this is definitely a priority for the enterprise. Why do you think SMBs overlook it?
Yeah. For this business to be successful, I had to figure that out. The burning question is why. And I spent so many literally nights, weekends, just researching better, understanding this, and even interviewing a lot of my CISO friends and people that have been in the industry. And so here's where it breaks down into it. It actually is a bunch of things. Number one, just to be clear, there's a huge financial incentive to not solve the problem. Okay, so that's one. The second thing
But on
that
whose side?
ties
Like me,
into it,
me, the customer. Like, it can't possibly be good for me to not solve the problem. I gotta think solving the problem is good for me. I can understand the industry, but like, I gotta feel like I need to solve it.
yo, you're 100% correct. So I built this business model. I flipped it upside down. I said, okay, I'm Corey White. I'm a cybersecurity professional, been in the industry for at that time, 23, 24 years. If I were to do security for a small to medium sized company, how would I do it?
Right.
Okay. And so I started really digging through the industry and looking at it. And that's how I designed, Salvatore, also with the help of my co-founder, Craig Goodwin. Craig has been a CISO for 20 years at large enterprises. And he'll be the first one to tell you, in many cases, he failed because, he bought all these tools and he just couldn't get them all to come into a central platform. So he had to build a platform. So we were fighting the same battle from both sides, and us coming together to solve it is critical. But let me continue back with, why this hasn't been done. The other thing is, if you go to Black Hat, which is a hacker conference in Las Vegas in first week of August, Black Hat DEF CON, and so this it's a lot of fun, and I've been going for 20 years. Love it, right? But if it's not a remediation, we fix things conference. It is we hack into things. Here's how we hack. And so I'll be the first one to tell you because I've done penetration testing. It's fun. It is cool. Say we got in, we got domain, admin, root, we got everything within 30 minutes. We completely own this network. It is fun to do. It is not necessarily fun and cool and sexy to go and say, oh, we just applied all these patches and locked down all these systems. No, nobody's gonna give you any attention. You go out, to the club and say, look what I just did. No, nobody cares. So it's that. And then, the last one is and unfortunately it's a perception that is, to your point, is hard to do because it
Hmm.
used to be. It used to be hard to do, but a few things have changed. Let's say in the last 5 or 10 years, they had this really cool thing called the cloud came out, right? And so you can cloud manage systems like anywhere in the world. Put an agent on it, and they just check in. So it gives you more control over your environment. The other cool thing that came out, and these were core tenets for our technology partners, is APIs. So I don't have to log into some clunky interface. I can actually control and manipulate things via API and automate things via API. So those are the things that really, really changed. I'd say, 5 to 7 years ago, we couldn't build this business model. This is a right now, this time is the right time for this model to work and for us to bring it to fruition. Last thing I'll say is, what myself and my co-founder Craig did is we sat down like, what is the future of cybersecurity? And the future is already here, and it's here in very simple examples. You look at Netflix. I think everybody knows what that is, but they don't all understand the backstory. In cybersecurity, we have this thing called people, process, and technology. Okay,
Hmm.
and so think about it and supply that to Netflix. They came out in 1997, and the people part is just their employees. It's simple. The technology is actually the movies, the content. They weren't
Yeah.
making any content in 1997.
Yeah, they were shipping
Okay.
DVDs.
Yeah, exactly. What you just said, that is a process. They put Blockbuster out of business with a better process to get
Yeah.
the end consumer to the outcome of watching a movie. Okay? Because right now I can press a button on my phone right now. I can stream a movie with Netflix right now. That is me
Yeah.
getting to the outcome. And so in cybersecurity, where we are broken is that if you do first principle thinking and you ask, why 5 to 7 times, you say, I'm doing this penetration test, right? And you do a penetration test, and you're like, well, Albert, why'd you do a penetration test? So if you don't want your data getting out and getting exposed ahead of time, is penetration testing the most efficient way to stop that? It just tells you what's wrong. Wouldn't you just fix your vulnerabilities? Because 50 new vulnerabilities come out every single day. And so if you did a penetration test yesterday and 50 new vulnerabilities come out today, some of them will apply to you. And last time I checked, and this again, the hackers are hacking every single day. You do a once a year penetration test, and let's just say you do fix what is found, then the next day is obsolete. So doing a penetration test is not the most efficient way to solve your problem.
When I hear you say that, it makes total sense. But I can see where, from my perspective as a customer, is why they lean towards pen testing, because you can like you can say, hey, why wouldn't you just lock down your network systems or your file storage systems so that you can ensure that it doesn't get out, right? And by the way, we actually had a long time ago, I almost closed a deal with Time Warner Entertainment, and there was one thing contractually that we couldn't get across the finish line. And that's because they had uncapped liability. They said their vendors have to have it. They're in security. And we said, why is that? Uncapped, like that makes no sense. We're doing social media. And they said, do you understand that if you release my movie early, this is what they're saying, like a movie's already made. By the time it's released, it's already been made, possibly for months, or like Top Gun Maverick. It's already been made for over 2 years. You let that come out early, I lose hundreds of millions of dollars. At the time, they were going to drop Man of Steel or whatever. So like, we need to know that we're protected, because if we're going to store our movie in your filing system, you better not let it come out. And I was like, dang, maybe I'm not that good. It makes you start questioning. It's like,
Oh yeah.
because I could see why a Time Warner Entertainment would want that. It's like, yeah, of course I want that. Like you can't let my movie come out, because I'm thinking like, it's just a file. Like, who cares? But no, when they said it like that, I was like, oh, dang. So like, I can see how a customer says, hey, I need pen testing because I don't actually know if I have vulnerabilities. You know what I mean? Like, I can see how they would say that.
Well, think about it. Let's go back, and because most of my career I did penetration testing. My team did penetration testing. I've probably done thousands, right? But let's go back. I love making this personal. And let's take it back to a house analogy. So let's say if we do a security assessment on your house. So we'll walk around, check your doors and your windows, and then we give some recommendations where you can have better locks here, you can have better monitoring here, and give you detailed recommendations. And then we say, all right, Albert, tonight we're going to penetration test your house, meaning we're going to try to break in. Okay.
Okay.
And so, to make it up a scenario, I don't know, say one of your kids leaves one of their downstairs windows open. Okay.
Okay.
And then we get into your house, we penetrate your house. Okay. And then the next day you close that window, right? It only applies to one point in time. And your environment is going to change on a continuous basis. So
That's
if
right.
you actually want to do penetration testing, then why wouldn't you say, all right, I'm going to automate my house. I'm going to make sure my doors and windows are closed automatically whenever I leave. So I know that actually continuously happens. And then I will continually scan for risk with my house, because it's a continually changing environment. And networks, especially today in cloud environments, are changing every single day. The
Oh yeah.
one-time penetration test it's obsolete the next day. In a house environment or in a network environment, it's obsolete because everything's in motion. And that the logic of us doing one-time penetration testing, that came out in like the 2000s, late 90s, where networks didn't change that much, and you had a
Yeah.
firewall. It secured everything. Now everything is open, the cloud exists, nobody's behind firewalls, so it's a very dynamic environment. We're using an old school mentality, that is obsolete today. So that's why we don't
Listen,
do it. We fix it.
I just got a Fed RFP recently. They if you think we're behind, they're like, yeah, they're in they're in the Stone Age. I saw a Fed RFP for this. So that's a great point you brought up, because more than ever, I think everyone on the listens to the show 100% is going to agree that we integrate technologies all the time now. And what's interesting now about the way we do business, meaning people, just in general,
Yeah.
people do business today, that's unlike what you mentioned before, network security, enterprises up before, is the fact that anybody can grant access to anything, to another technology, and we all do. We all integrate, tools to talk to each other. And so, like, I like what you're saying. It's like basically every day you're opening and closing like windows, like you said, right?
Mhm.
There's never a day where basically tool A is not sharing data with at least tool B, probably tool B through Z, right? Like there's all
Yeah.
kinds of data flow happening. So give us an idea of when you built this product or you built the service. I don't know. Do you refer to it as a product or a service? I believe it's a service.
You're teeing me up. We don't have a product or a service. We only sell solutions tied to outcomes. Because exactly, because
Well,
neither one, a product or a service, gets you actually secure. I could say back. I mean, I could sell you the best AI door lock solution for your house, and you go and buy it, put it on your kitchen counter. Did you secure your house? No. I can sell you the best cybersecurity product. Then bring it into your office and say, are you secure? No. You need the service part of it, and you need it on a continuous basis. But service has been a one-time activity. Let me do this one-time install, and I'm gonna walk away. But you just said your environment changes every single day, so the one-time install and walk away is irrelevant. So it needs to be a continuous subscription to actually solve the problem.
give us an idea of how it works though, because we already kind of talked about it, especially like in today's work environment. Like I'll use Mission. Hopefully no one hacks this, but we have nothing to hack anyways. But I'll use Mission. We're a hybrid company and we are a small business. So as with a lot of small businesses, and I'm sure you've already run into this, like we don't have standardized equipment. So everyone is using whatever router we use, right? Like all of our services are typically
Yeah.
cloud managed. We have multiple devices. We're a bring your own device company as well. So we don't have like
Mhm.
lockdown software on everybody. We kind of are a process oriented company where everyone's got, mandatory
Mhm.
2FA to their cloud credentials and so on. But that's probably very similar to a lot of other SMBs. Give us an idea of how
Mhm.
Silence, the solutions work. Like, because you're talking about
Yes.
different routers, different equipment, different networks, some cloud, some on-prem access, different user permissions based upon, like our user permissions are usually set at the service level. So we actually will set our permissions, like who gets ads access, who gets, storage access, who gets recording access, right? So, but we typically set that all at the individual tools. We don't have like a central. We don't use SSO.
Here's the thing. People like to think that their networks are very different, but they actually are quite similar. So now what you have to do is think of it in this new world. The what's going to be attacked is your endpoints, right? And because the firewall is dead. I did a great talk a few years ago called "The Firewall is Dead." So that's irrelevant because you guys leave your office and you go home, you go, coffee shops, everywhere you're connected, right? So the firewall you have there in the office is irrelevant for the most part. And so the only thing that actually secures you is, and I'm glad that you said that you have 2FA, multi-factor authentication. That's critical for everything you log in, your personal banking accounts, Gmail, Microsoft Office 365, G Suite, everything. So make sure that's across the board, because I'll tell you right now, your passwords are compromised. Okay.
Yeah.
My passwords are compromised. Okay.
I've heard
Everybody's
I've heard that.
passwords are.
I've heard other cybersecurity experts say just assume that someone knows who you are. Like if
Yeah,
you because
exactly.
you would behave differently. If you knew your password was known, then how would you behave?
Yeah, exactly. So you need to have something you have, and something right? So you know your password and you have your phone or whatever you use for that second factor of authentication. So that's number one. Number two, and it's a huge mistake that people make, and I'll tie it also into compliance as an example. People are like, well, I'm compliant with so and so standard, and the standard may say you need to have antivirus on every single system, and you may do that. So that means you'll go out and you'll buy the cheapest antivirus out there and you put it on every single system. Okay. Box checked. We're secure. Good. Well, antivirus was originally built in 1987 and it uses legacy signatures. Let me just maybe the hackers have figured out how to get around that. Just maybe like 20 years ago they figured out how to get around that really, really easily. But there are next generation AV solutions that use artificial intelligence that have the ability to block the execution of malware and ransomware and whatever you may accidentally click on. Because let's just face it, phishing is gonna eventually work. So if you
Mm,
got 50 people and they all get a phishing email, you just need one to work. Okay.
mm.
You don't need all of them, right? And so then the malware is in your environment and you're done. So you have to actually block the execution of malware. Now let's rewind back to the beginning of the conversation where we talked about the managed detection and response.
Hmm.
So if I have a advanced antivirus solution that uses AI that can be configured to block the execution of malware, but I don't do that. I just use it from a detection only perspective. It will detect that ransomware or whatever malicious software is there. You'll get an alert, and the next second, your system is encrypted. Okay, that's the equivalent of saying I've got the most secure alarm system, advanced door lock I possibly can have at my house, but I don't actually lock the door. Okay. I just have it, in monitor only mode, right? And so that's what we're doing in cybersecurity. And so that's where most small, medium-sized businesses are failing. They don't have proper endpoint protection. The other one is, I know that, this happens about at least once a month, but there's a Microsoft MSDT, vulnerability called Kalina. And any Microsoft system can be accessed, period. Okay?
Mm.
If you don't patch it. And so just like a typical SMB, and you don't have to answer this, most companies, they don't have a regular patching process. So if you aren't patching and taking care of critical vulnerabilities on an ongoing basis, and you have a Windows system, you can get compromised right now today, pretty much instantly sitting on the internet. And I'm not saying that to scare you. That's
See,
just
I
the
feel
truth.
like a clown because I don't even know who has Windows on our company.
Yeah, exactly. But see, that's another point, right? And if you look at any cybersecurity best practice standard, the first thing is you can't secure what you don't know you have, right? So you need to know, have asset inventory, and there's some fantastic tools that are out there. We do that for our customers automatically, and then you need to know what's running on those systems. So if I know you're running, this application and it has a critical vulnerability on it, then I know we need to patch it. So we solve all of that in an automated fashion because what I just told you is not complicated. It's fairly easy to automate with the right people, process, and technology.
So what about companies that are use bring your own device? Because bring your own device is becoming more prevalent, especially in startups, right? Like when
Yeah.
let's say sub $5 million in revenue, bring your own device is actually quite prevalent. As far as I know, right? I'm sure there's companies that don't because who wants who wants to incur that capex to ensure standardized equipment for everybody? I've seen multiple SMBs. That's how they run it, right? And so
Yeah.
your point, like you can't secure what you don't know you have. Well, A BYOD company has no idea what people have.
Exactly. So that becomes a business risk, decision, right? Because if I'm running a business, which I am here, and I decide that I don't care what your device is, and you can bring whatever into the organization, I'm exposing our business to risk. Two ways you can do it: either obviously you buy devices for everybody, or you simply say, okay, keep your own device, but we have to secure your own that device. And so
Mhm.
that's something you can build into the employment contract or whatever, and say, hey, and that person should welcome it, because how many people do we all know that have been personally hacked? Okay, they should welcome it because it will help them.
Yeah, I see on Facebook every day, 4.99 Ray-Bans. So somebody every day is getting hacked in some way personally.
I was about to say I like your shades you have on you, but okay.
No, you're absolutely right. People are getting compromised at some level, probably all the time. Kind of like what you said before. Just assume your password is someone has it.
Absolutely. So I just gave you, three-step formula: multi-factor authentication, proper endpoint protection and blocking, and patching. Like those are really basic things, and that is a basic package on our website that we offer for our small to medium-sized companies, and it's absolutely turnkey. And so that's how we're able to serve those companies. One last really important point is the SMB market is price sensitive. And so what we did, which is very, very different from the rest of the industry, is we don't go through value-added resellers. That's just like, I want to watch this new, Netflix movie, like you said, the new Tom Cruise movie just came out, right? I want to watch it. And I was like, no, I'm not going to stream it right now. I'm going to go to Target or Walmart and pay and buy the movie and then bring it home. But think about it, Target and Walmart, they have a markup, right?
That's right.
For it. Okay, and so you're paying the markup. So in cybersecurity, if you want to be secure, if we went through these value-added resellers, you get a markup of 20 to 40%. So we're still able to give best-of-breed cybersecurity products cheaper than some of our competitors that are giving crappy products because that markup is in there.
Well, that's the reality of it. A lot of software companies don't want to offer the services, and a lot of services companies don't have access to the tools. So whether
Yeah.
you go to
Yeah.
you call them VARs, right? We'll just call them vendors. Whether you go to a partner, whoever's missing the other part
Yeah.
typically will upcharge you for the other
Exactly.
half, right? Which is tools and services, right? Like that's always going to happen.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. We're tools and services in one. We're not using some other entity, so we are cheaper and more efficient. We are absolutely the fastest way to be secure. So I had to, again, re-engineer the model to get the future of cybersecurity so it can solve the problem for the masses.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Corey, it was awesome having you on today on IT Visionaries.
Yeah, it was an honor. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more great IT thought leadership. And thanks to our partners at Salesforce Platform for making this show possible. Go to salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role.